2025 is bringing several mudlarking exhibitions to London town. In June, we gathered at the newly opened Fulham Pier. Several fellow mudlarks displayed their best finds in this brand new venue in London, right by the River Thames. Despite the heat wave on the day, the event was very well attended by Londoners and tourists visiting our capital. Totally Thames 2025 will continue with several mudlarking exhibitions this year until October. I will be displaying my finds again on the very last day, on October the 12th, at St. Paul's Cathedral. I hope to see you there on Sunday, 12th of October. Meanwhile, in case you haven't been yet, the most talked about mudlarking exhibition is still happening in London at the London Museum Dockland. I have two of my finds, I would say best finds, on display. First is this silver hammered coin of Queen Elizabeth II. An Elizabethan lover bent this silver shilling into an S shape and presented it to their sweetheart as a gift sometime after 1590 AD. Love tokens like that are associated with romance, bringing good luck. And here, back in 2015, the day I found this shilling of Queen Elizabeth II, the way it looked back then when I found it. Is this find special to me? Yes, it is indeed, because it was my very first hammered coin found on the Thames foreshore. I loaned this coin to be on display here until the end of the exhibition on the 1st of March 2027. My second and last find on display here is quite a rare find, as it's the only of its kind found on the Thames. I remember this day very well, or this evening, as I was having a night larking in January 2017. The coin looked so well preserved that I had my doubts. It was genuine. It's a silver drachm, dated 590 to 601 AD, of King Khosrow II, the man in power back then, in an area where Iran is today. King Khosrow II was a powerful ruler of the Sassanian dynasty. The question is, how did this coin end up here, on the foreshore? There are no records that show us that Britain traded with that part of the world back then. The answer could be, this coin was dropped in the waters of the Thames by a Viking sailing along the river. As he jumped ashore on the muddy waters or the muddy banks of the Thames. There are records showing the Vikings brought back several of the coins to use the pure silver content, or sometimes to exchange for goods. I have donated this find to the London Museum, which they have in their collection. The next find is not one of mine, but I would like to mention it. It's probably one of the best recent finds, one of the best recent Thames finds.
This late Bronze Age sword is almost 3,000 years old. But don't be fooled, it's a cutting-edge piece of kit. All puns intended. Up to this time, weapon-like objects tended to be multifunctional. They could be used for hunting, preparing food, as well as fighting. But it's in the Bronze Age that we see for the first time swords made purely for warfare and fighting, beautifully and skillfully crafted. For a Bronze Age warrior, their sword signalled to others both their status and their identity, as well as their skill as a fighter. Studies of these swords and experiments using modern replicas show that the fighters had to undertake hours of training and practice, probably from childhood, to understand their weapon and how to fight with it. Fighting was at close quarters, and warriors learned to use their sword to control their opponent's weapon, skillfully minimizing damage to the blade. This sword was recently uncovered in the Thames mud in West London. When it was found, it was covered in what is called Thames race, a hard concretion like limescale that builds up on objects that are buried in areas of slow-moving water. It has been carefully cleaned at the museum. Analysis of this blade shows that the sword had probably never been used when it entered the river. But such a weapon would have taken many hours of labour to make, and a lot of expensive metal. So why was it in the river? In the Bronze Age, it is not unusual for metal objects, such as swords, to be thrown or placed into rivers, almost certainly as offerings. Rivers such as the Thames were considered to be special places, but the Thames was also somewhere that people were buried in or near at this time. There have been many finds of pieces of human bone dating to the Bronze Age, and it is therefore possible that the sword entered the river when it was buried with someone, perhaps a famous warrior.
And I was fortunate to see it when Adam, a fellow metal detectorist and mudlark, discovered it on the Thames foreshore, and I had the privilege to hold it in my hands. A find of a lifetime. Finally, I've been told another find of mine will be on display at the Mudlarking Exhibition at the London Museum Dockland sometime around October-November. It is indeed one of my best finds ever. Why, you may ask me? It's probably the period of history. I'm fascinated by early medieval history. This object puzzled me for quite some time. I had no clue whatsoever what it was. Perhaps I kept it because it reminded me of an old door knob, until I spotted an inscription on both sides. My find has been identified as a sword pommel, a medieval sword pommel. Mercy, Jesus, it says here. I can picture a knight on his way to Jerusalem during the Crusades, or on his return to England from Jerusalem. But why was the pommel found on its own? Did the knight break his swords in several pieces and offered all several parts to the river? It's a very personal object. The wearer would have made the inscription himself on both sides of the pommel. However, on one side, he missed the letter I for mercy. I've donated my find to the London Museum, where it's now in their collection. And in case you're into souvenirs, here's a t-shirt you can purchase here. Some of the Mudlarking finds are stamped on them, including the Thames VC. You might ask, why was the Thames VC not in the exhibition? A good question. Perhaps because it's now on permanent display at the National Army Museum in Chelsea. If you haven't been yet, the Thames VC is at the Soldier Gallery. Then again, you might ask me, Tobias, why is your name not mentioned? My answer to your question is, I have really no idea why.